Hey everyone, welcome to your Learn Lab. I'm Seema, and if you're an IGNOU student, you're in the right place. Here we create videos on different IGNOU courses to help you ace your exams. So hit subscribe and join me on this learning journey. Welcome to another video on IGNOU's MEG 1 British Poetry. Today we are diving into the fundamentals of understanding and analyzing poetry, meters and scansion. But before we jump in, just a quick note. If you haven't already watched my videos on consonants, vowels, syllables and stress patterns, I highly recommend you check that one out first. It lays the foundation for everything we are going to talk about today. I've linked it below in the description. And by the end of this lesson, you will understand what poetic meter is, why it's used, how to identify different types of metrical feet, how to do scansion, which basically means breaking down the rhythm of a poem, and you will get some solid practice too. So you're totally ready for your IGNOU exams. So make sure you stick around right till the end. Let's begin by talking about rhythm in poetry. Rhythm is the musical quality in poetry. It comes from how syllables are arranged, creating a beat or a flow that gives the poem emotion, mood and energy. It's kind of like the pulse of a poem, and it can completely change how a poem feels when you read it out loud. Now, rhythm is made up of a few key elements. You've got meter, which is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables, and there's rhyme, where words sound similar, usually at the end of lines, pacing, or how fast or slow you read the poem, and finally pauses, where the poem intentionally slows down or stops for dramatic effect. All of these things together shape the tone. For instance, in the line, "I wandered lonely as a cloud," there's a calm, gentle rhythm that matches the peaceful imagery of the poem. Now let's zoom in on meter. The word meter actually comes from the Greek word metron, meaning measure. And that's exactly what meter is. It's a measured pattern of beats or syllables in each line of a poem. The smallest unit of meter is called a foot. Now, a foot is a combination of stressed and unstressed syllables. And depending upon how these syllables are arranged, the rhythm of the poem changes. Let me give you a super simple example using something called an iamb, which is one of the most common types of feet. An iamb is made up of two syllables. The first is unstressed and the second is stressed, like this. So if I say, "I walk to school each day at 8, you'll hear that da-dum, 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 da-dum rhythm. That's 4 iambs in one line. We call that iambic tetrameter. Now let's talk about the different kinds of meters. There are basically 4 types of meters, and they are syllable stress or accented syllabic meters, strong stress meters, syllabic meters, and quantitative meters. Since syllabic stress or accented syllabic meters are the most commonly used ones, and that's exactly what we are going to deep dive into. And as I've mentioned, syllable stress meter, also called the accentual syllabic meter, is the most common metrical system in English poetry. It is based on 2 main elements: the number of syllables in a line and the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. And in this system, each line of poetry has a fixed number of syllables and a regular pattern of stresses arranged into feet. Let's find out more about how it works. To understand this better, you need to know what a foot is. A foot is basically a repeating unit with a specific arrangement of stresses, and common types of feet include 1 iamb, which consists of one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable, as in appear, behold, attack, supply. Next, you have the trochee, which consists of a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable, like tiger, holy, upper, grandeur. You can see how here the stress is on the first syllable and the second syllable is unstressed. Next, you have the anapest, in which you have 2 unstressed syllables followed by one stressed syllable, as in understand, colonnade, reappear. Next, you have dactyl, in which you have one stressed syllable followed by 2 unstressed syllables, such as desperate, messenger, property, infamous. See how the stress is on the first syllable followed by the two unstressed syllables. Alongside the main feet, poets sometimes use rarer forms like spondee, in which there are two stressed syllables, or pyrrhus, in which there are two unstressed syllables, or amphibrach, in which you have unstressed followed by stressed followed by unstressed syllable again, and amphimeter, in which you have stressed, unstressed, and stressed, and tribrach, in which you have three unstressed syllables, though these are quite uncommon in the English verse. Now that we have understood what a meter is and how it works, let's try to understand how to perform metrical analysis. That's scansion for you. So scansion is basically the process of marking the stressed and unstressed syllables to determine the meter. As I've mentioned, it's a metrical analysis of a verse. So when a unit of verse, a word, line, or stanza is scanned using specific symbols, the meter of the poem can be both seen and heard. For example, you have, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" You can see here that there are 5 iambs in this particular line, making it an iambic pentameter. Now here are some symbols that we use in order to scan a passage in verse, and sometimes also in the case of prose. The symbols are as given. First, we have the acute accent, which is used to indicate a metrically stressed syllable. Then you have the breve, which is a metrically weak syllable. A single line, which shows the division between feet. And then a double line, a caesura or a pause in the line. And last, we have a rest, a syllable metrically expected but not actually present. Let's now take a look at the line length in a meter. So the first one, you have a monometer, which is 1 foot consisting of 2 syllables, thus I. Next you have dimeter, which is 2 feet with 4 syllables here. Then you have trimeter, which is 3 feet with 6 syllables. And then you have a tetrameter, which is 4 feet with 8 syllables. Then next you have pentameter, which is 5 feet with 10 syllables. And last you have hexameter, which is 6 feet with 12 syllables. Now that you have an understanding of how to scan the passages, let's scan the following lines of passages and analyze the metrical features. Pause the video for a few seconds. Try to identify the answer and play the video for the correct answer. And here you go, this is the answer. It's an iambic pentameter. I hope you got that right. Now scan the next one by H.W. Longfellow. Pause the video and play it again for the answers. Did you get it right? This is a trochaic tetrameter. Now scan the following passages and analyze the metrical features of few lines by Lord Byron. Pause the video, do it yourself and play for the answer. You know the drill. And this one is an anapestic tetrameter. You're getting there. Now scan the following few lines to analyze the metrical features. Pause the video, do it yourself and play for the answer. And there you have it, it's a dactylic dimeter. Now you can analyze any poem like an expert. You're doing great so far. Now let's quickly touch on a few other types of meter that you might come across, especially in historical or comparative literature. First, we have the strong stress meter. This was used in Old and Middle English poetry. Think Beowulf. Here the number of stressed syllables in each line stays fixed, but the number of unstressed ones can vary. It often uses caesura, which is a pause in the middle of the line, and alliteration instead of rhyme. Then there's syllabic meter, where each line has a fixed number of syllables, but stress can vary. This is really common in Romance languages like French or Spanish, but in English it's not used very often because it doesn't sound as musical to our ears. Finally, quantitative meter. This one's based on how long it takes to pronounce a syllable, not the stress. It's used in classical languages like Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek, and it's based on syllable duration rather than syllable stress. So that's the big picture. We started with rhythm, moved to meter, broke down different types of feet, learned how to scan a poem and practice with real examples, and then wrapped up with some special kinds of meter used across different traditions. In the next video, we'll go into rhyme schemes and stanza forms. So if you're interested in building a complete understanding of poetry, you definitely don't want to miss that. If you found this video helpful and would like to learn more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to your Learn Lab. See you in the next one. Until then, happy learning.